You know, in the past, you have a lot of EFCC cases that they are more like a media trial. By the time you go to court, they will tell you to present your case. And then you now say it was based on this. You don't have substantive evidence. And even when you do, you don't know how to marshal your point, or you don't even know the laws. And then, you know, there are times when the judiciary too is conscious of creating something that will become a judicial precedent, you know, and that judicial precedent, once it's there, that means every other case will make reference to that.
So are you saying, I'm sorry to cut you, are you saying that the judiciary indeed is independent under this administration?
Well,
in your opinion?
In my opinion, I won't, it's a 50-50. It's a 50-50, it's subjective. Now, the subjectivity has to do with, one, have they made any law, or has there been any case, any judgment that will have ensured that the government should comply? Has there been anything? Because the Minister of Justice is in the executive. You understand? So, but he's sitting there as a member from that constituency. So whether we like it or not, the issue of financial independence, it's not as easy as it is. It's not going to happen. That they'll just say, I want this. Yes, they might push their budget and nobody will question it, but not that. And that's where the issue of good faith comes in. It is my budget. You are not supposed to interfere. This is what I need to do my job. And you are not supposed to say, why do you need this? Okay? So there's also the angle of what you said is the angle of compromise, where your integrity, your objectivity is put on the line because you cannot do things. Somebody is doing it for you. So it's a threat. It's a threat. It's an ethical issue. But you know, in other crimes where people err, they throw in the towel. You don't even tell them you must go. They say, because this thing is not, I've not done well here, I put in my resignation. But here, even when you are in jail, people will take ashwebi for you.
I'm telling you.
You understand? When you are going to jail, people will take ashwebi for you. That Omowani, is our leader. You understand?
Yeah.
So that's how it is. Now, so I'm not saying that we are like that, but democracy is growing. And you cannot remove the fact that, you know, we're just how many years old? 20. Yeah. So you're talking, you can't be comparing a democracy with a democracy that is over 200 years.
I agree 100% with you, you know, but 20-something years down the line, I think we should have reached a point where, of maturity, where other countries who are, we can refer to as upcoming, you know, can look up to us and say, this is what we're copying from the Nigerian system. I think that in 20-something years, a 20-something-year-old human being, you know, is ripe enough to get married, if you will agree with me. So that means he has attained adulthood. So I think Nigeria should have done a whole lot more. I'm thinking, this is me thinking in that area. Stephen,
we had a situation, I think in 2024, where we found the legislature, the National Assembly, they were singing on your mandate, right? And this, how should I say, poses the question, right? And we also see that the National Assembly has passed several significant executive bills with remarkable speed, if I may say, such as the tax reform legislation, the Student Loan Act amendments, and others. Does this reflect legislative efficiency or an alignment, or does it raise legitimate questions about the independence of the legislature from the executive?
Well, on those two bills, yes, they passed it, but there's some bills that will need urgent attention. For the students, the NEL Fund, at one point, it was not easy for students to go to school. And, you know, in other climates, you have people take student loan. It had come before, but wasn't well managed.
But the question is, like, why? What's the motivation for the speed? There
No,
are other issues.
No. You see, the thing is, when bills are passed, yeah, I'm not in government, and I'm not talking for them, but I'm talking as a neutral person. Now, when bills are passed, and you have things that have to do with the welfare of your citizens, it is only proper. Now, the two bills, for example, had his own advantage, okay? But there are other bills that will come up and they will not fly. Now, that's not to say that when a bill is right, the legislature should, just because they want to be checks and balance. There are times when it will be right. And it depends on who is putting it forward. Like I said, it depends on how you present your case. That will say whether it will go or not. Let me take you back to when Dr. Bukola Saraki was president. Yes, and Buhari was the head of was the president. You know, they didn't really. That was when you could say, there was separation of power, but it wasn't separation of power. It was more like a political vendetta. You know, I will make sure you don't. I won't make it easy for you. You understand? Or they will come with the posture that I don't like this guy's guts. I will show him Pepe. But when you delay those bills, yeah, who suffers?
The people.
The people. So there are times when bills, the fact that bills are going well or has express approval, you know, does not mean that it is a bad case. Does not mean that, they are not doing their job. There are few instances where, yes, it's obvious that this one is rubber stamp. Do you understand? We cannot remove that. They are not perfect, but there's some, like the two, good side and bad side. And the good side of it is, if you have, like the house now, I don't know how the house is going to look like. Because already some people are not going back to that house. And then the people that are going back to the house, some of them are learned enough to say what they want. Some got to that house based on political benefits. That, okay, you've been loyal, you've done this yourself. Go and take, don't you have someone that can do this thing? That ticket, go and in fact, there's no contest. I just got there. And then you don't know what to say. And then you just say the nay, the yes. At times, some of them are sleeping.
Okay.
So they cannot constitute that full checks and balance as we expect. And it's not the fault of the executives. Neither is the fault of Nigerians. It's their own fault. So how do we solve this problem? You must make sure you hold your legislative accountable. You should be able to call them back, even though it has never happened. Maybe we should test.
Processes.
Yes, maybe we should test the waters.
It almost happened in Natasha.
No, happened
for Dino as well.
And Natasha, yes.
All these
Natasha.
Kogi people. Sorry.
I know you.
Co-guides. My co-guides.
All right. 3 years down the line, what one institutional reform would you consider most urgent to strengthen the separation of powers and restore public confidence in Nigeria's democratic government?
The reform that I think, if I get you right, what reform do I think or do I feel should come again?
Yes,
to come into play.
Yes, to consider most urgent, to strengthen the separation of powers and restore, public confidence in the democracy of Nigeria.
It is not going to be a law or a reform. Rather, it will be that the electorate, will now begin to hold their representative accountable, because separation of powers has been there from independence. You understand? From when we started democracy. It's been there. So there's nothing you want to do. So the only checks that can happen is if there are formidable opposition, that can say the house is balanced. You have 4 parties.
And everybody has appreciable number of members.
Yes. Not the one that everybody. Exactly. So you have that issue.
It can be more robust.
It can be robust. And then the people that do the debate, are they learned enough? Do they know what they're there for? Do they even know the subject matter? that they are talking about.
Even what does the law say?
What does the law say? Exactly.
They
started campaigning. They will say a lot of things because of who you are, your persona. When the man comes in, Nigeria will be better. Everything, there will be corruption. Everything will be because of his last narrative, the way his personality then,
at the time,
what he did. So you cannot remove the fact that people will not suggest. There are suggestive rhetorics and dynamics in life that this man is coming, and even when you don't pay them, and that's the problem politicians have. Some people go promise people about your coming, and then when you come, well, it's okay, delay. You do everything. you do miracles. So when you get there, it puts you. There's that gap, that expectation gap from the citizens, from the government, gap between the citizens and government, requesting for you said you do this, you said you do that, not putting in mind that it's not a democrat, it's not a dictator. A dictator can say today, I don't want to see any organizer on the road from here to Ibadan.
And it will take effect.
And it will take effect. You don't need to go to that. But that's exactly. So you find somebody will come and say, you can't do that. Some people even go. Do you know how many times they protested in Lagos as House of Assembly with banners and posters, and some will come with their children, my children are this or that. So you cannot remove that. So on this subject matter, you cannot remove the fact that people will always push your narrative, even when you have not said anything. They look at your body language. Body language almost destroyed Buhari's government. Everybody's body language was more powerful than what he said.
Thank you, Mr. Damola. All right, Stephen, you want to?
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Damola, business consultant and social analyst. So, over the period of time, we've sampled the opinion of Nigerians from Abuja, Akure, Lagos, Nasarawa, Ado-Ekiti, right? So let us share with you what they had to say. Do stay with us.
Chief Sonya Atofarati. You see, in 2012, when the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, announced the removal of subsidy, Nigerians were almost not aware of what the damage that subsidy was causing to our economy. And when you look at the graph as at then, you see the amount, the humongous amount that goes into subsidy payment. And when you see what was going into health, what was going into infrastructure, what was going into education, as a person, I agreed. I supported the idea that subsidy should be removed. So as at that time, if subsidy had been allowed to be removed as at that time, we would have been buying fuel at the rate of 141 naira. But it was this same political elite that occupied major cities of the country, demanding for the reverse of that decision of the president, because they tagged it as scam, meaning that there was nothing like a subsidy payment. But unfortunately, Nigerians were shocked to realize that the same Tinubu, who was everywhere in Lagos, leading protests in Lagos against that removal of subsidy. The very first thing Tinubu did in office, the day he was sworn in, the very first speech he made was that a subsidy was gone. That's beautiful. If we can remove subsidy and redirect those funds into more impactful projects. But unfortunately, the situation here it is today, subsidy is removed. We now buy fuel as high as 1,350, 1,500 naira per liter. Yet, can we see the effect? Can we say we see the effect of this removal, whether in education, whether in health? Because when you look at the deteriorating state of facilities in the health sector, when you look at the dilapidated state of infrastructure in the education sector, when you look at our road network system, you agree with me that there's no positive impact of that removal on the masses. And if there's any policy that government put in place that does not represent or that does not show concern to the plight of the Nigerian people, then that policy is actually not a policy. Rather, it is a means. It is a means to further to further depleted the state of the people who are there, people who I can tell you for free that Nigerians, every Nigerian live below $1 per day. That's quite unfortunate. But if this subsidy had been removed and it's been implemented, funds realized or generated, it's been implemented, but we can't feel it at the grassroots. All of us are here and we can see the situation now. People cannot go to their farm because of the high cost of petrol. Commodity, agro produce are already wasting in the farm because people cannot even access the road to their farm. Do we say, look at the southwest region. By privilege, I have been around the southwest region for the past 6 years. And I can tell you that there's no road, no passable road across the southwest. Now, how do we now say the removal of subsidy for more than 3 years now has any effect, any positive effect on the life of the masses? So it is almost an avenue to siphon the commonwealth of Nigeria and being managed by few political elites. So for me, I can tell you, and I am saying it without any ambiguity, that we can feel the effect of that subsidy removal.
My name is Ekunife Joseph Nnamdi. Where subsidy has not, actually I'm an advocate of fuel subsidy removal. I am an advocate, and I can assure you that the fuel subsidy that they have.
My name is Adetola.
The citizens are suffering. If you look at the cost of goods and services across Nigeria, it's unbearable for ordinary citizens. But according to those people that are doing work with him, there is the economic team, they told us that they are gaining gradually, maybe in terms of, they said the economy is improving in their own perspective. But in the area with the common people, if you look at it, the economy is not improving at all. Because of
èmi gan lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ tí mo wà ẹ́ bí màá ṣe jẹ́ mi ò róúnjẹ jẹ gbogbo ara ni mí ní àti ọ̀sẹ̀ bí méjì síbí báyìí àníná ní àdúgbò wa ní Ọ̀dà road ni mo ń gbé so kẹjọ kẹ bá bẹ bàbá tó bá mọ̀ pé wọ́n máa ṣe ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì mi ò di ọwọ́ wọn mú ṣùgbọ́n kán tún Nàìjíríà ṣe.
Look at the mathematics teacher that they kidnap and cut off his head. So the regime to if I may say, the regime is not good enough. You know, they are failing us. Yes. The economic reform, the economy is also bad. If we can see, look at how Nigeria is now. Look at how Nigeria. Then, if you can look at it before Nigeria, then let me just say, okay, during PDP, look at their regime then. I think the economy, you know, in Nigeria is somehow better than this APC. So the economic reform, you know, people are in pain. The economy is not good, it's bad in Nigeria. So people are just in pain, you know. In fact, I don't even know how to say it again.
Well, sometimes, when we sit on the table to analyze, it's always good to get feedback from the masses. We want to really know how they feel. How has the government fared in 3 years? And that's why we kept you here in the studio for you to listen, along with us. Mr. Daramola, business consultant and social analyst, we'd like to thank you so much for being our guest on the program this morning.
Thank you.
It's time for us to take a break, and when we return, it's still the Breakfast Express show on MITVPLUS. Please don't go away. We have so much more for you. It's going to be on for a couple of hours. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Progress no dey happen just like that. It dey come from support when you need am.
Mommy, I got the school fees. You too much.
Na money point oh.
Money point, thank you.
Customer, na transfer abi? Confirm.
Bro, na transfer.
Na money point oga. Oh, na confirm.
Progress na peace of mind when you know say payment go land as sure banker. Progress na small wind where they carry person go far.
No worry, yourself go make am. Mo go Bible.
Victor, even you they use money point?
Of course now, they use money point.
Confirm.
Money point, made for your progress.
Well, I have a feeling things are about to change.
The new season of the hit series Wura is coming to Africa Magic. Here's everything you need to know about the woman behind the name to get ready.
This is well.
Wura is the ruthless CEO of Frontline Gold Mine.
We're going to build our paradise here on earth.
She'll do anything to maintain her power and perfect image. Lies, fraud, and of course, murder.
Let the dead state hit her.
Many try to take her down, but she always claws her way back to the top.
I have a plan.
That is, until she discovers that the last person she murdered is her own abandoned daughter. The once unbreakable Wura begins to fall apart, and her empire of gold crumbles around her. But she would rather die than have the world discover who she truly is. Catch Wura Season 4 on Africa Magic Showcase and available to all on Africa Magic Family.
All right, thank you very much and welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, we had a session already with Mr. Adetola, and then we looked at separation of powers, we looked at the functionality of the judiciary and how it's fared since since this administration took over power. It's a special edition of the show today. We're looking at the third year of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. Remember, on the 29th of May 2023, he was sworn in at Eagle Square in Abuja, and there's been a lot that had happened within those times. And we're just looking at the scorecard and see how far we've come. And the next conversation we're having on the show today, we're going to be looking at building the future, science, technology, and Nigeria's education revolution. And of course, no other person that can drive the conversation better than the guests we have already in the studio. She's the special advisor to the Minister of Education on STEM and corporate sector engagement, Dr. Adetola Salau. Good to have you join us on the show this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm really, really honored.
We are honored as well to have you on the program. Thank you for coming.
So let's run it through. Science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine. In case you're wondering what STEM stands for, as the global currency of the 21st century economy. Nigeria, with the largest youth population in Africa, sits on an extraordinary human capacity opportunity. But are our classrooms producing the scientists, the engineers, the coders, and innovators that the Nigerian economy desperately needs? Under the Tinubu administration, the Minister of Education has made STEM a state priority with corporate sector engagement, policy interventions, and a push to modernize the curriculum. 3 years in, we asked the person at the heart of that effort, what has changed, what has actually been done, and what remains undone. Once again, Dr. Adetola Salau, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you again.
So let's go straight up into this conversation. For any nation that wants to develop, education plays a critical role. And you are the intersection of government policies and education delivery. What are the 2 or 3 most significant STEM interventions this administration has made in 3 years that you can point out with genuine pride?
Okay. I would actually like to backtrack before I even talk about STEM interventions. I tell people that one of the biggest things that you always have to address is access. Access. It is one thing for the students to desire, to want to study the STEM subjects, to be engineers, to be scientists, to be innovators. But it's another thing for them to be able to have access, to be able to go to these higher institutions. I'm very proud of the student loan scheme because it's it's similar to a lot of the programs that we have in westernized societies where the students are able to utilize government key initiatives to be able to go and develop themselves. I like that you use that word human capital development because that's what really will bring us to becoming an economically viable nation. And that's what we need using these STEM interventions. So getting them access is huge. And the NEL Fund scheme, to me, has been such a game changer. Before I was in the federal level, I worked with 2 different states, Lagos and Kwara. And when I was in Kwara State, we went around getting and educating a lot of the students about this scheme and the difference it was going to make in their lives. I've actually met students one-on-one from the universities, also engaging with them at various places. And it's been so amazing, the stories that they tell me, how they were worried about how are they going to be able to pay their fees. And now there's something that enables them to. Plus, they even have a little bit of a stipend at the end of it. So it's huge. So I'm so happy that we're democratizing financially education for all our students, because that's what it is. In America, it was a game changer. People who came from homes who could not pay fees, they were able to go to school, they were able to up their levels. In the UK, I mean, we could just keep going on about various Western nations. So I'm really happy about that. But if we now want to get into what have we specifically done, we've had, and this is one of the things that we're very, very proud of, the TVET program, that's the Technical Vocational Education Program, where we are working on the students with specific skills for employability. We've had them in ICT, solar, agriculture, construction, welding. They also get stipends. And when they finish the programs, they are also enabled with some form of support to build up, to start up. Yes, it's really, really big. So I'm really, really proud of us understanding that the world as a whole is moving away from just certificates to skills now. All over the world, you hear more about what skills do you have. If you go look at a lot of the job sites, particularly the ones that have to do with specific, okay, I want you to carry this out, this contract, I want you to do this work, you will notice that there's such an emphasis of listing out, do you have this skill? Do you have that skill? So it is important that we start making sure that our young ones also are built up with skills too. So that program has been such a huge shift, and I'm very, very happy and very proud about that. It's huge. And then we've also had enormous expansion around digital learning. You see, this phone, people underestimate how powerful these phones are. If you look at the laptops from the 80s, these phones are 1,000 times more powerful than them. You can do so much. A camera, in fact, I saw a picture recently of all the various things that these phones can do and all the various all the various equipment that it replaced. Camera, of course, your regular, remember how those rotary phones used to look like? It showed all, and the typewriter, because remember, you type on this now. It showed all those different things that these phones has replaced. And I remember just staring at that picture and saying, wow, it's true. So making sure that we're equipping our young ones to be able to utilize equipment like this, to use it for those skills, and be able to, I keep coming back to economically viability, because it's so important that as a nation, these our young ones are able to take care of themselves and add to their communities. It's very, very important. So us working on ICT integration in our schools and digital literacy across numeracy, mathematics, which is numeracy, English, and them utilizing ICT in all the various subjects is really, really huge. We have a lot of platforms around that. We've introduced a lot of digital tools for the teachers, for school administration, for the students themselves to use. And I know the ubiquitous ones that all of us are all discussing nowadays, AI. Yes, I had to say it because we have to say it. So it's really, really important that we're equipping our young ones with that. So we've had quite a number of programs around that, and we're still rolling out even more programs, even ones that are specifically, like I said, the TVET, and then of course the STEM that we're mentioning too. So our classrooms are evolving to a digital gateway for the global economy. That's it in a nutshell.
All right.
That's very, very powerful, considering the investments so far, because, you know, we're speaking, you know, the same language with US, countries like Finland and, you know, whatnot. But, you know, at the grassroots, we are still seeing that many Nigerian public schools, from primary to tertiary level, continue to face severe infrastructural deficits, right? And cases of underpaid and demotivated teachers. And many times the curricula, you know, seems to be faulted as behind global standards. How has this administration done, in your opinion, has this administration done enough to fix the foundations, or are we currently building STEM ambitions on crumbling bases?
We have done, and we are continuing to do a lot of work in those areas. In fact, one of the biggest things that we did this year, and I am so proud of, and I'm happy that you mentioned, because what you mentioned is teacher welfare, and making sure that, in other words, motivating our teachers, and making sure that we recognize them. We had a program, it was in February. We had a program in February that the First Lady was actually the one who awarded our teachers. For the first time ever, teachers were recognized. And it wasn't just from one area, they were recognized from all over the nation. And they were giving huge rewards, 50 million, 20 million. You even had some state governors now realize when their teachers were selected to give them cars, to give them houses. And wow, look at the kind of remarkable work you've done. When I was in Lagos State, we championed doing programs like that. I'm sure you heard about it, where we were giving the teachers cars, and we were recognizing them and telling everybody these teachers were champions. Their cars were wrapped up with that text, so that wherever they went in their communities, people saw that, yes, people knew that. So now it's not just Lagos State anymore. This was on the federal level, and it was the first lady herself, who, by the way, used to be a teacher. So she was the one that was recognizing these teachers. So I was very happy that that happened. And then in terms of also infrastructure, there is a lot of work to be done, but we are doing a lot of work. You will soon hear about, and it's rolling out, about smart schools that we're working on. Yes, you also hear about classrooms that we're also constructing. Like, I keep coming back, and I have a right to, from my own experience when I was working in states. When I was in Lagos, we constructed smart schools in Agege. I know, of course, everybody just heard about that beautiful one that was done at Tolu. Yes. And I know with the one we did in Agege. I'm trying to remember some other ones. Okay, that one we did at Ekpe. There was another one. I'm trying to think. I think that one, there was another one on the mainland. I'm trying to remember where on the mainland. So we have all these schools that we did. In Kwara, I know we also were constructing new classrooms and rehabilitating classrooms for the students. So now on the federal level, we have over 4,900 new classrooms that we've been setting up. And then we've renovated over 3,000, I see correctly what I have here. Yes, so because I had to get specific numbers, 3,000 classrooms in both our public and primary secondary schools. And then you mentioned something really, really key, which is environment in the classrooms. Also construction and distribution of desks, chairs, and learning materials. One thing that we had done last year and we're continuing to do this year is also to give the teachers and support them with the smartphones, and also I believe there were schemes around tablets too in various states. I'm just trying to remember the states right now in the back of my head, and it's not coming. I wish I had written that down. So we have programs like this that we've been doing to promote and push, and you will even hear very soon about some more that we're doing targeting specifically STEM, my own area, that we are supporting the teachers with materials that will boost these students, and also revitalizing. I'm sure everybody remembers hearing about Jet Club when, yes, they were younger. Revitalizing those initiatives back to bring that pride back about science learning and mathematics learning to our students. So those are the things that we've been working on.
Well, I'm super excited to have you on the program this morning.
Thank you,
and
ma'am.
one of the reasons is because, you know, I went to a federal government college.
Which one, if you don't mind my asking?
Lagos. So we're one of those who did, you know, before we got to the promised land, the Janikin place, you know, we came all the way, you know. And, you know, for me, I'm leaving the experience. And that's why I said I'm delighted to have you. You know, we hear about all the things that the federal government is doing. But my question is, do these things actually trickle down to the staff and the students and the environment? And I ask you this question because I am the immediate past president, global president of Federal Government College, Ijaniki, All Students Association. And I know how much we task ourselves and tax ourselves to be able to give back to a school that once gave so much to us. Because what we see now is not really a thing that we can recognize. And I know that you understand where I'm coming from. So that's why I said...
I'm an educator.
Yes. So, that's why I said that we actually live the experience. So when we go to school and we see the teachers looking so dejected and so on and so forth, and we have to do so much, it's unending. Now, the question...
But can I just interject real quick? Please, real fast.
Yeah.
You will notice that he said that part of my mandate is corporate sector engagement. One of the things I said I was going to make sure I emphasize here is public-private partnership. I need us to understand that education is not just the government's job.
True.
It's all of us. All of us are invested in it. It's a social good. So all of us are part of this because it's the thing, a major lever, a major pillar that will bring up the nation. So I just said I have to interject that kindly, please.
Thank you for that bit of information. You know, but I'm just acting on, you know, what you have said, you know, that you from what you say, you've done so much, you know, and I'm not quite sure that we're seeing this much that the government does. So I'm just saying this for you to perhaps check the process through which these things are supposed to come to the end user, really. For example, members ask us, what is the government doing? What has the government done? And we say the government is doing so much. But okay, we hear the government released a certain amount of money for the school, for repairs, for capital projects and so on and so forth. And then, you know, what we eventually, you know, the school would never tell us exactly what they got. But somehow, you know that there's always a mole everywhere, you know. So we get some information and we're not quite sure that it is exactly what is released that eventually gets there. That's the problem. We're not quite sure because that's not the impression that we have. So yes, you seem to be doing so much, but maybe you need to also, you know, ensure that the processes, you know, are checked from the beginning to the end. And I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about because
yes. I'm a big believer in systems and processes. Yes.
So this is really key for me.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Salau. I mean, you said a lot here, and the most important one for me is that it seems the reward of the teachers are no longer enabled.
No, we have to start recognizing them here. Yes, we need to start recognizing them. Yeah.
But I think corporate social engagement is also key to whatever you're able to achieve on the policies within the Ministry of Education, and more specifically under the, you know, your responsibility as a special advisor. But, you know, how has the private sector responded to the government's call to invest in STEM, and more importantly, how has the conversation in terms of partnership between the government and the private sector, how has it unfolded, and is it positive, the feedback you're getting from the corporate organizations? Has it been responsive enough, and are you inspired to do more?
Oh yes, it's very positive. Like I mentioned, I still draw upon from Lagos to Kwara to now here at Federal. One of the things that keeps encouraging me and keeps giving me hope is about how everybody, like what she's mentioning about her classmates and even the alumni before that, that they understand that, my God, we have to give back, we have to pour into. It's been so positive. In fact, one of the, I'm not going to mention the name of the organization because I know I'm not supposed to do that on air right now, but when I was in Kwara, one of the biggest and still most forward and progressive hubs in terms of technology in Kwara State, in fact, in entire Nigeria, was built by a corporate organization, and we're utilizing it for a lot of technological advancements for the students from secondary school. I did programs around robotics, coding, cybersecurity, space engineering for the students when I was there. We also did a lot of STEM building, and then we had a wonderful festival around STEM for the students. So imagine it was a corporation that built this entire facility for the students, and then also sponsored the students having that festival. So right now there are so many organizations that are really invested and understand that what I had mentioned, that this is symbiosis. We all have to be into this. We all have to roll our sleeves and put our hands into this work. So yes, there are a lot of organizations, and the response, I mean, is really, really great. Just the other day, oh yes, yesterday. No, not yesterday, day before yesterday, Children's Day. I went to an event where we were celebrating, talking about inclusiveness and making sure that we raise, I like using the word neurodivergent. I don't like saying that disabilities. Making sure that we raise and include all our neurodivergent learners. And I was just so pleased, so happy to see the roster on the wall of all the various organizations that sponsored and were part of that event. Yes. I was like, yes, this is how it should be. And they were there, they were present, they were all contributing. I'm talking airlines, like again, I know I'm not going to mention names, but they were there, they were really present. And I said, this is how it should be. So yes, there has been positive response. And it's not even just government, they are reaching out to civil society organizations, NGOs. They are reaching out, like you, alumni. And I saw that a lot when I was in Lagos too. Even in Kwara, I saw that a lot. They will come in, they will paint, they will take over a project, yes, work on facilitation programs for the teacher training. I mean, we all have to be vested and invested in this. So,
okay, I'd like to ask the next question. If a Nigerian child starts primary school today in a public school, in a low-income community, what does the educational journey ahead of them look like? And is it meaningfully better than it would have been 3 years ago?
I would say yes, because there are a lot of programs that are now in place for their teachers to support their teachers. I can, well, of course, state by state too is another factor too. I can proudly say those 2 states that I mentioned, there were a lot of support programs for primary school teachers. Both Kwara and Lagos that I mentioned, yes, there were a lot of programs for support for the teachers, where there was facility, there was equipment, smartphone, tablets, curriculum, which I should have addressed that. The curriculum was last year revamped. Coding was added. I'm sure you heard about that. Yes, coding was added. We're talking about AI now. We're talking about how do we also look at the role of the student in society, ethics. All those things were incorporated because education is holistic. Education is about the entire individual, his mind, their health, all of that was incorporated. So yes, I would say that the teachers have a lot more support. We even have a lot of platforms for the teachers for free so that they can be able to utilize materials without having to pay. I need this lesson. I don't have to go and say, yes, it's available there. There's so many of them. EduRamp, I remember there's another one called Skill Up. There are all these different platforms that the federal government has been rolling out for the teachers to support them. And then all these programs that we're also rolling out in various states to support the teachers too.
And that would be very, very nice. Just like the what you said about teachers having access to quality materials.
It's really cute. I was a teacher. It's a huge deal that you pick up your phone and you now log into this thing for free. You don't have to pay. Sometimes we're even supporting them with zero data too. And they are able to go on, they search, okay, I'm teacher. I'm just giving an example because I was a science teacher. I'm going to go look for photosynthesis. Okay, I want material around this. I want to teach my students. Yes, you have to go and use that. Yeah.
All right, so let's look at gender gap. And,
that one. That was huge.
I just wanted us to, go into it deeply. Either ways you look at it, the scheme is deeply entrenched in Nigeria. And what specific measure or policies has this government put in place to get more girls and young women into science, into technology, into engineering, into mathematics, and and a whole lot? Because sometimes we have certain things that limit the girl child, and sometimes it could be culture, sometimes it's tradition, sometimes it's the family thinking, why would I educate a girl child when I can invest in the boy child? There seems to be all of those limitations, but how much are you trying to expand that gender scope within your responsibilities?
Oh, I'm very, very proud and very glad to say that. I'm going to go back again and reiterate, when I was in Lagos, Kwara, and now in the federal, that there have been a lot of programs that we've utilized to work on narrowing that gap and increasing the pipeline, because that's what you're describing, increasing the pipeline of girls. A lot of advocacy programs. We did quite a bit when I was in Lagos, mentorship programs. We did it through a program that I set up, which was Team Up Lagos, with other partners, on making sure that the girls understood that it's possible, there's access, these are mentors, these are role models you can look up to, and these are ways, pathways for you guys to tap into. And then also working on making sure that those programs continue. And I got to, when I went to Kwara, we also had the Office of the First Lady also join to support us on that. Now at the federal, we actually have a full-out program that is just exclusively dedicated to that, plus other programs that Agile, yes, Agile, that has to do with really, really working with our adolescent young girls, making sure that they understand that we do want them in school, that it's important that by building them up, we're also expanding their communities, and understanding each child, each of those girls that we're raising, oh my God, it's huge. Each of those girls that we're raising, we're bringing them away from poverty, we're bringing them away from insecurity, we're making sure that they now see other pathways for their lives. It's really, I know that's what you were having at, yes. So yes.
Okay, I like to hear you talk, and I know that you're here, doing what you know how to do best, speak on behalf of the government, because that's what you're doing. that's your job, but I very much would like to say to you that sometimes the alumni associations and corporate social other bodies maybe let me not bring those in. Let me talk about the alumni association.
That's where you're coming from.
That's where I'm coming from. And because we feel the burden. These corporate people just do it out of pleasure and goodwill. So we feel the burden. We feel sometimes that all of these things that the government says that it's doing for the schools, for the teachers and everything are not being done. You see, I sat down here and I listened to you speak and I said, it will be really nice not to come up against some of the things you're saying. I should be cordial and everything, but my conscience keeps beating me and telling me bring these things to the fore.
No, talk
Perhaps
about it.
She doesn't even know some of these things. For example, we're talking about chairs, we're talking about the building, some of the
I know about that. That's why I mentioned that.
Yes, yeah. So
I do. I go on field visits, madam.
A lot of these things. The hostels are eyesores and a lot of things, and then people are asking, so what is the government's involvement in all of this? So when you talk about all these things that you're doing, in my head, I'm actually, if you realize, if you notice, you can see that I'm kind of looking a bit confused. What I'm hearing is not what I know, what I really see. So that's why I said I must ask these questions. If the government is committing so much and doing so much for the schools, and I don't know about the state government, I'm talking about the federal government, okay, because this is my area of core competence right now, then there shouldn't be too many challenges. The Alumni Association seems to be doing almost everything. Alumni and PTA seem to be doing almost everything. But I do know that there are capital projects which the principals, or the heads of schools, send to the Federal Ministry of Education every year. And the Federal Ministry of Education is supposed to finance some of these capital projects. But sometimes, really and truly, I don't know where the disconnect is. I don't know where it is, but I want to actually, of the truth, understand where the disconnect is so I can take it back. I can take a word back to my people and say, what, we had so-and-so person on the program this morning, and this is what she said. She spoke as an authority. And that's why I'm actually bringing it to the fore. Where exactly are these monies going? We don't really see these things happen, at the rate at which you speak. Because I'm listening to you and I hear you and I believe that what you're saying,
it's real.
Yeah, it's real. So where, between maybe you and people like us, we need to find out where the disconnect is. Something is not quite right. I must say that right now. Something is not quite right. It's either, we believed it was from the government. But now you sit down and give us this beautiful picture, and now start to wonder.
Madam, I don't want you to think that it's all perfect. Even when I'm telling you that we carried out work in Lagos, there were processes. There were processes for selection of schools. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, if you go to the ministry and you go to the departments that are working on, because what you're talking about is rehabilitation of some of the infrastructure in the schools, yes.
And also the teachers, all these things that we're talking about.
I'm coming to the teachers, madam. I want to go one by one.
Okay.
So we're talking about infrastructure. If you go to the ministry and you go and sit down and discuss with them, you will see that there are priority lists. And you will see that under the priority list, there are certain criteria. Okay, because we did that when we were in Lagos. There were schools. Like, remember I said I did field visits. This phone that I'm holding right now, I have some of those pictures. In the cloud, all of them are there, those field visits. We will take pictures of broken down roofs and things like that, ma'am. We did that. And then we'll now decide what were the priorities. Because you can't do
everything, certainly.
Yes.
We know that.
So you now have to prioritize. For example, I remember there was a school, the roof was so bad that we knew that school, we had to act almost immediately. When I say almost immediately, madam, I'm not saying 1 week or 2 weeks, but that something needed to be done quickly for that. So there were memos and there were things presented to the governor around that. And even that, there are processes, ma'am, when money is coming out. Okay, and that state. So imagine if that state and we had those processes, you can imagine the processes at the level where we're talking various states are bringing this together, ma'am. So that's infrastructure. Now, coming to teacher training, and we also fortunately have various agencies that also engage our teachers with training. You mentioned primary school, which is the foundation. And it's very critical and it's very important. We have UBEC, and under UBEC we have SUBEB, and we have all those. And there are so many initiatives that we're pushing out for the teachers around training. I mentioned the tablets and the smartphones, a lot of those programs. Now, is it every single school that has benefited from that? No, unfortunately. And I'm not happy about that. In fact, as I'm speaking to you, remember I said I have pictures in the cloud. When I was in Kwara, I used to go around. I have pictures. I would sit down and ask, I'm an educator. I would sit there while they were having the training. And I wasn't sitting down, ma'am, giving them a pass mark. No, I was actually very harsh. I wouldn't say anything because it's wrong while they were training and everything. But when I would come back, I would speak to the people who were organizing and working, and I'd be like, no, I'm an educator. I don't totally agree with this. I don't like this. And they would say, I say, yes, I have a right to say that. Leave even being in government or being in policy. I'm an educator first. So I have a right to question and say, I don't like this. I don't agree with this. You understand? So, ma'am, there's so many, there's a lot of intervention, but yes, there's also all these processes in trying to step them down to the right places. That's there. And then another thing too that I look back and see that we have to constantly do, and that's what I'm hearing him say too, is these teachers themselves. I tell people that's the mindset. We need to constantly work on the mindset. And that's why I'm happy that these programs that are talking about welfare, recognizing teachers, like we celebrate them in October.
Yes,
Teachers Day. Yes, it's so important. Yes, it's very important. In fact, I'm so happy that when we were in Lagos Day, it was like almost like a parade. No, it's very key. I wish all states, that's why I mentioned, I don't know if you picked on when I said, state by state is another thing. I don't know if you heard me when I said that, yes. I wish all states will adopt that, where they celebrate and really push teachers. Let me even surprise you. We're talking about Nigeria here. Do you know that even in the US, they struggle with these things that I'm mentioning to you? Right now, there's such a huge issue with retaining teachers because teacher welfare is a serious problem. They've had so many strikes, union strikes. The teachers are not happy. Curriculum, they're also saying, you know what, I want us to, revamp and remodel this. Even infrastructure, you'll be surprised. A lot of the rural areas are also having issues. So this is not an issue that is just endemic to us. I'm not shortchanging us because we have a lot of work to do. Have you noticed that? And anybody who is reasonable in our system would admit that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But I want us to understand education is one of the toughest. Whenever you ask any of our ministries to come to sit down to talk to you, education and health, tough ministries, because they are so intensive, the amount of capital, the amount of money, and the amount of work that needs to be done. This curriculum thing that we mentioned, oh my God, this is something we should have done years ago. Let's all admit that. Talking about how do we bring in coding, how do we emphasize these students being built up with STEM, should have been, but thank God we're here now. Thank God we're doing that now. Thank God we're making strides towards that. Thank God we're talking about where the teachers can go and access material. And thank God. Yes, thank God that some places, because remember, I have to also quantify that. It's not everywhere, but some states, thank God, they're giving them phones and some of these tablets.
So even this robotics and stuff, I remember that I think last year or the year before, my school came first in Nigeria and third in Africa or something like that, yes. And we were so excited about it. But guess what? We actually have sets that have dedicated themselves to supporting. So where am I going? I'm still coming back, I don't want to be as if I'm tugging at your neck, but I'm still going to come back to say, government needs, well, I wouldn't mind that. Government really needs to do more. I know you say it's work in progress, and I understand that this thing is so vast. It's nothing that you can do at once. But I'm saying if we're focusing on this thing, let us actually see that even the little that we spend, is yielding results. So when we say we budget a certain amount for certain things in education or for education, can we just have a team that will go and check up that these things are actually, this money has actually been used for these things, and can we come out to look? I think communication is key. If we, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know about it because it hasn't been communicated to me in any way. So we need these things to come to the fore. This is what we did, or we did this for so. If we hear these things more, then we know that government is doing more. But in my head and in my mind right now, I'm saying that government is not doing as much as they're supposed to be doing.
Do you know that you said a lot, and I am nodding my head along with you. one of the key things you said right there was communication.
Yes.
That there needs to be more communication about this initiative, this work that's done.
Yeah, because like these teachers that you spoke about, I didn't see anything happen last
year. Huge
in my school.
You should have seen.
I didn't.
In Abuja. It was huge. We had thousands of teachers from all across the nation.
Oh, so they came. The teachers had to come to Abuja.
No. Well, some of them came to Abuja. But my thing that I was trying to explain to you is, it shouldn't only be in Abuja.
Thank you.
It shouldn't only be in Lagos.
Thank you.
It should be in all the states. That the state governors call the teachers and they have celebrations. They recognize them. That was beautiful what happened with us in Abuja. They were giving high-sea buses, by the way, and they were giving gifts. It was really, really beautiful.
Please, when they're giving, they shouldn't forget Federal Government College Lagos.
You see how she's making sure she plugs her
I'm
own.
making a case from
I can see
the
case. So, all right, at the root of this, I want to really emphasize that one of the biggest things for this president is education. Among his renewed hope agenda, he was very, very clear that education is a national priority. He was very, very clear. Okay, it's not my phone. I was like, I know it's not me. That education is a national priority. And under that, one of the key things that we talked about was infrastructure. And that was how money was put towards that. Innovation, which is why I talked about this digital literacy, STEM, TVET. And then also policy. We're talking about productivity, which is where we talked about skills, the skills gap. So those things are really, really key. And the money has been put and has been deployed to a lot of these things that we mentioned. In fact, as we're speaking, if you go online, you will see pictures of where the students are being trained at these TVET centers, and you see the testimonials of the students talking about it. Yes.
Yeah, I love the fact that you made mention of policy and you also made mention of money, because education is a very capital-intensive project for any country that is very much particular about development. And I'm also an educator with over a decade experience. And I've also...
You try. I've
also,
well done.
I've also experienced, the federal schools, federal unity schools, and how things operate. And I must say that, or let me say this, I think according to the education policy, it states that the budget for education should be around
20.
Yes, the global benchmark
is 20.
Is about 20.
It's 20.
But in Nigeria, I think we are still below par when it comes to budgeting. Will you say it is currently affecting, your work?
We need more money.
Everybody
knows that. I mean, that's the elephant that we're all trying to tiptoe around.
Okay.
Yeah, there needs to be more money. And that's why I said there has to be that synergy between us and the private sector to say, look, guys, we can't do this alone. We need you guys to come help us. We need support. And a lot of them have been stepping up, like people like her that have come together in their schools. And there's so many schools like that. When you mentioned that you guys are in Lagos, I say, of course it's Lagos. I saw so many beautiful schools like that did remarkable things. Even in the primary, I remember, okay, I'm not supposed to mention names. I remember setting primary schools, mainland too, because I'm a mainlander, so those ones are the ones that always stick in my head. And a lot of those alumni renovated classrooms, did the roads before the schools. I mean, I was just like, wow. This is amazing. That giving back, that spirit of saying, this is where we got from and we are also pouring back to. In my own school where I went to school, because I also went to a public school, but not here in the Southwest, it was in South. We also do a lot of work. So I understand where you're coming from. We've done a lot of work. We've done the ICT lab. We bought computers. We've done training. So everything you're saying, you're preaching to the converted that already knows that these are the things that are done, and with that passion and that love of we want our schools to excel, we want the ones coming up to. And let me tell you one thing that we really should see it as. We shouldn't see it as a burden. Please, I want to take that away. It's more that you're giving back.
No, we don't see it as a burden. Okay, but I'm saying that sometimes, when we get feedback from some of our members, it's like, why are they, why is the federal government, putting this on us? It's all pleasure, it's all pleasure for us to do these things, but we feel that if these monies have been set aside, we don't want a situation where, there's an opportunity for people to just, siphon this money into their personal pockets when it has been set aside to do the same thing that we want to do. Now, I'll give you a typical example. If you know that all the libraries all the e-libraries, all the federal government colleges were done by the current FCT minister at the time. And we are told, information reaches us that most of these libraries have sunk. In fact, the one in our school, and they say about 2 or 3 other federal government colleges, maybe about 5, are the only ones that can be utilized. So we even had to do a complete restructuring of the e-library. We took off we're still even working on the e-library. My administration and the current administration have been working on the e-library. People have donated millions, hundreds of millions to ensure that we bring this up to par. You understand what I'm saying? So sometimes these kind of things could be very annoying, especially when a minister got that contract to do and messed it up, and it's still the minister. So things like that really get to us because we're human beings, if you know what I'm talking about. So, that's why I am using, this opportunity, because that you're sitting here, I'm not going to just let you go like that. Yes, the thing is that I've been trying to play the good girl, yes, my conscience kept giving me that
at the ministry. Come and sit with us.
Yes,
yes.
I will come.
Okay, I'll give you my card.
Yes, I will.
Come and meet us.
All right, thank you so much.
We need to have people who are passionate, like you coming to sit down there and say, guys, I'm holding you accountable.
Yes.
So yes, I'll give you my card.
All right. I'm loving the banter because if you get very political, the tone can change. But now let's wrap up this segment of the program. 3 years down the line, it looks positive. It looks like we can go around and then just extract what we have on ground. I think that we're not where we want to be for now, but we've left where we used to be. What are you optimistic about going forward? Given constitutionally, this administration has about a year to go, but of course the issue of maybe re-election is still on the pipeline. But what are you expecting in the next, let me say, 1 year, in terms of growth, in terms of more? Because it's exciting, I would always ask for more. No matter how much you think you said today, there's still someone from the alumni that is saying, you know what, you need to do more. So how optimistic are you about the days and the months ahead?
I'm very optimistic because there are programs that in the back of my head, I already know that are in the pipeline, that in the next 1 month, 1 month, 3 months, 5 months, that are still being unveiled, that will touch places I know, like her place and other places. And the ripple effect. See, what is so powerful about us educators is that one of us in a year is not just 2 lives, 5 lives, hundreds of lives, one of us. So by the time we are touching each of those teachers, empowering each of those teachers, equipping those teachers, the multiplier effect is huge. So I am so excited about these programs. I am so excited about this work that is being done and is going to be continue to be done, because I believe in, particularly when you started something and you're saying, okay, I want to continue it, which I know our president will continue when he returns, there will be so much that will be built upon that, from the student loans, which I know will continue to expand access for our students, to digital learning programs, because our students, like he correctly said, have to be able to match up with their counterparts globally. Yes, and then all this vocational training, which is focusing on skills for our students. So investing in education is really, really the key for us, building future prosperity. I know I keep coming back to economics, but that's the one language all of us understand. Even when she was speaking, is it not still economics that we're still indirectly still talking about? It is. So being able to build and boost our students towards that pathway is really, really key. I'm really excited about that. Is there a lot of work? Oh my God, yes. A lot of work has to be done. That's why you heard me make that clarion call about we all need to work together. Yes.
Now, let me just quickly take us slightly away. I'm digressing a little bit. We have just about 2 minutes. Your teacher, he's a teacher. We're not teachers, we're journalists. You know,
that's why she's coming. See?
but we feel, a lot is happening in the nation today. I am passionate about anything and everything that has to do with this nation, that has to do with humanity. Children of 2 years old are stuck somewhere. 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 17, 13. A teacher has been killed, slaughtered like a ram. What are you doing? I see the passion in you when you speak as an educator. I see the passion. Are we just going to fold our hands and watch? Are we not going to lend a voice to our colleagues who are stuck somewhere? Are we not going to lend that same voice against the killing of that one teacher who did nothing but try to impact knowledge?
Ma'am, we have put out words about that.
Okay.
Our ministry has, state government have, and also the president has also. And as you correctly said, and as an educator, of course I'm concerned. I'm a teacher, and not just that. I love our children. In fact, when I was coming in here, I don't know if you noticed, I sat over there with my head bowed because I'm praying for our children. I'm praying for those teachers. I want our schools to be safe. And that's one of the things that I know that, yes, we do have a project around that. And we have to continue to really, really sit down and have all our best minds. See what are the things that we're going to work around that. And the beautiful thing about our society now, where we are right now in this 21st century, is how do we utilize technology as part of that. But the issue is we have so many schools, and it still comes back to money again. And that's why I said that. Remember I said earlier about money being the elephant in the room.
So we need to prioritize the way we spend money in Nigeria. That's the problem. And I know you're not going to say it. You can't even say, I'm not even asking you to say it. Because asking you to say something is asking you to say, I want to resign. But I will say it because that's my job to do. I'm a journalist. And I'm saying that Nigeria...
I can say what I can about being an educator. I told you
yes,
that.
Yes. I'm just trying to keep you safe. And I'm saying to Nigeria that Nigeria, we need to have our priorities. We need to review our scale of preference. Education for me is key, is important, is priority. Education, security, health. Those three is non-negotiable. So we need to go back to the drawing boards and do something about it. Okay.
Well, I think it's a conversation that is ongoing, and just like you said, our government is a continuum. You do the best you can. You put up a solid template that other people can come in and build on. So let me first off congratulate you. It's been 3 years, huge journey, and I'm hoping that the next couple of months, years, if the president is lucky enough, our Nigerians think is deserved to come back, I would continue to see more and more and more. From the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So once again, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation today. Anything before we leave?
Well, nothing much. Just hope.
Said a lot.
I just hope that Nigerians will do what they need to do, and that in 2027 that we will have good leadership. Good kind of leadership that Nigerians want. All right. Well, we need to take a break. We'd like to thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure. Honestly, I think it's been a great pleasure having you on the program this morning. And like I said, we hope to have you again. You want to keep talking about education and what you're doing.
Yes, how are we going to boost up our students? How are we going to make the future better? Help their teachers. Yes,
improve the standard. And the truth is that Nigerians, we have it. We've got it going for us.
No.
Anywhere in the world, we represent.
Why I'm so happy about the programs that we're unrolling, particularly the one around the training for the students with the skills. They're very eager. They're very enthusiastic. That's why I said, please go online. See their faces. See how joyous they are about partaking in programs like that. They're happy. They want to be skilled. They want to be productive. It's not like they are saying, oh, why should I even bother? They really want to.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Dr. Adetola Salau, the special advisor to the Honourable Minister of Education on STEM and corporate sector engagement. Thank you for being a part of the conversation this morning.
Yes. We'll take a short break right now. When we return,
I will continue this, extracting how far the president have come in the last 3 years. We have another guest on standby. Stay with us.